Sure. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We welcome you all for our webinar session with Saira Sarfraz on product goal. That why the product, why the why of product goal. Before we kick off with our session, I would like to introduce Sarah Sarfraz, who is actually contributing as a volunteer for Pakistan Agile Education for past 1 year. And she is not only adding contribution in a valuable terms, but obviously she has been certified in multiple domains of Scrum and agile coaching site as well. So before heading toward the session, let's be real, because product management can be challenging, and between interfacing with multiple teams, coordinating release schedules, prioritizing customers happiness, driving the mobile product roadmap, and endless other activities, it's easy to get caught up in the hustle bustle and stress that is product management. So let's time to take pause and take a breath and re-energize yourself through the words of some of the world's most inspiring product leaders. And there is one interesting quote that I personally like: "Only move forward with creating a product that will be above the bar." And that was by Brian Lawley, who is CEO and founder of the 280 Group. So and one more important quote that I would love to highlight, and it is also one of my favorite, which is: "Your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learnings." That is by Bill Gates, Microsoft. So we just, without further waiting, I would like Saira Sarfraz to take lead on her session and continue with sharing her knowledge experience with you all. Over to you, Saira.
Thank you, Namra. Thank you, Mohsin. Everyone, Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for taking out of your weekend activities to attend this webinar. And very happy New Year to all of you. I know this is a time of the year when we are working on our New Year resolutions and also looking back at the previous year and reflecting on what went well and what didn't, and what were the highlights of the previous year. For the Agile world, for the Scrum world, one of the highlights of this past year was the new version of the Scrum Guide. And we are all really excited about it. Everyone is talking about it because with each version of Scrum Guide, it becomes more and more clear what Scrum is really about. So while there were a lot of changes in this new guide, in this new version, and we would love to talk about all of them, but it's not possible to cover every change in this 1 hour session. So we'll just focus on one. But before we start with our actual topic of discussion, I'll just highlight the 4 key changes in this latest Scrum guide, and then we'll move to our topic of discussion. So the first change in the Scrum Guide is that it has become more flexible and less rigid. If you take a look at the previous version of the Scrum Guide, you will notice that with each new version, it becomes more flexible and less rigid. And in the previous versions, there were very strict practices like burn down charts and 3 mandatory questions for the daily Scrum, and then Scrum Master practicing the practice of Scrum Master facilitating the daily Scrum, and so on. But what we have learned over the years is that everything is not does not fit well in every situation. So if we just make everything mandatory for the Scrum, then it won't be able to assist us in every situation, in every context, because what works well for a software development team might not work well for a team that is working on a scientific research or a team that is working on a marketing campaign. So what Scrum Guide has done is it has made itself more flexible and less rigid to accommodate other situations, other environments as well. So they have eliminated the 3 mandatory questions of the daily Scrum, and they have also replaced the term development team with developers. Because when we say development team, we are actually thinking in terms of coders and programmers and QAs, but developers mean anyone who is working on the product, and it could be any product, not just a software product. So this is the first change. The second change is they have moved from roles to accountabilities. We know that in Scrum team, there are supposed to be three roles, the product owner, the Scrum master, and the development team. But now Scrum has moved from roles to accountabilities because Scrum is more than just job titles. Okay, so and Scrum does not care what you are within your organization, what your role is. So your formal role could be your formal job title could be like a project manager or product manager or software architect. But if within the Scrum team you are honoring the accountabilities of the Scrum master, then this is what you are within Scrum team. So you're not in a role, you are in an accountability. So this is the second change in this new version. The third change, and this is our topic of discussion today actually, is that they have introduced product goal. And we are going to discuss in detail. And then there is this fourth change, which is closely tied with the third change. And that is the three commitments that have been introduced, which are set to uphold empiricism. So we will discuss a product goal in detail here. But before we dwell into product goal, we first need to understand the three commitments because this is where product goal is coming from. So what are the three commitments and why they have been added to this new guide, this new version of the Scrum Guide? According to the Scrum Guide, the three commitments have been introduced to bring focus on the progress of each of the three Scrum artifacts and to increase transparency. Okay, we'll have to break down this statement just to understand each part of this statement clearly. So first of all, they are saying this, the three commitments will be tied to the three Scrum artifacts. And we all know what the three Scrum artifacts are, right? Can you name the three Scrum artifacts? Actually, I wanted to be more interactive and, just not a one-sided discussion. It's a discussion, so and I would like you to chime in.
I can break the silence by saying the first artifact as product backlog.
Exactly, product backlog. Thank you.
So the people, okay, so Zishan mentioned sprint backlog.
Sprint backlog, exactly. Product backlog, sprint backlog. And the third artifact is?
Product increment.
Exactly, product increment. Thank you. So the three Scrum artifacts are sprint backlog, product backlog, and increment. And the Scrum Guide says that these three commitments have been added to the three Scrum artifacts. Okay, now we know the three Scrum artifacts, but what are the three commitments? The three commitments are sprint goal, definition of done, and product goal. And I'm sure everyone has heard of sprint goal and definition of done before even these commitments were introduced. So according to the Scrum Guide, the commitment sprint goal will bring transparency to the artifact sprint backlog. Commitment definition of done brings transparency to product increment. And the commitment product goal will bring transparency to product backlog. Okay, so this is how commitments are connected to the artifacts. But the question is, why have they added these three commitments and how are they going to help us implement Scrum better? To answer this question, let's go back to the statement that we saw earlier. The statement says that these commitments bring focus on the three artifacts and increase transparency. So the key words here are focus and transparency. Okay, so when you hear the word focus, does it ring a bell? I mean, have you heard it before in terms of Scrum?
Scrum
One of the Scrum values.
Scrum, exactly. Thank you. One of the Scrum values, one of the 5 Scrum values. Okay, so these three commitments are set to bring, are set to enhance one of the 5 values of Scrum and increase transparency. And you know, transparency is one of the 3 pillars of Scrum. So let us understand what is the structure of Scrum. Scrum is based on empiricism. So, you know, this entire structure of Scrum stands on the foundation of empiricism. And it has 3 pillars transparency, inspection, and adaptation. And these three pillars are interconnected in a way that one leads to another. The first and the foremost pillar is transparency. And transparency says that the work in progress at any point in time should be visible to everyone. It should be visible to the people who are working on the product, that is the Scrum team, and the people who are receiving the work, that is your stakeholders, your end users. So transparency is the main thing, because if you don't have transparency, then you might end up making decisions that will decrease value and increase risk. So transparency is the main thing, and transparency leads to inspection. If there is no transparency, then inspection would be just wasteful and meaningless. And inspection leads to adaptation. Sorry. Inspection leads to adaptation. Without adaptation, there is no point in inspection, because we inspect to adapt. And Scrum encourages learning from the past mistakes and learning from our experiences and then making changes for improvement, for betterment. So transparency leads to inspection, and inspection leads to adaptation. So when the Scrum Guide says that the three commitments will increase transparency, it means that it will eventually increase inspection as well as adaptation. Similarly, we have these 5 values of Scrum, and the 3 commitments are supposed to enhance one of the 5 values, that is focus. And all these values are interrelated. So if you have focus, you have commitment and courage and respect and openness as well. It cannot be that you just pick 1 or 2 values and then let go of the others. This is not how Scrum works. To be truly working in a Scrum manner, you have to follow all the 5 values. And when you're following all the 5 values, you will be able to build the 3 pillars on which the entire architecture of Scrum is standing. So this is the purpose of adding the 3 commitments, that they will enhance the values, and as in the result, they will enhance the pillars on which the Scrum architecture is standing. Okay, now let's move to product goal, which is our topic of discussion today. The first, we need to understand what is a product goal. Anyone, any idea? I know this is something that has been added in the Scrum Guide for the first time, but this is not something alien. This is not something that you have never heard of or thought of. So any idea, any thoughts on what a product goal is?
I think the high level objectives that we want to achieve.
Exactly, the high objective that we want to achieve, correct? This is absolutely correct. Now let's see. So product goal, there are 2 words, product and goal. So let's first understand what product is and then see what goal is. Product could be any service that you are delivering. It could be a physical product, which will be used by the consumers, or it could be something more abstract. So product could be anything that is benefiting the user in any way. It could be, or it is something that is helping them solve a problem at hand, or something that is creating a new system or increasing efficiency of the existing system. So anything that is benefiting to the user and you're delivering it, it is actually a product. Now, what is the goal? Even if you're not thinking in terms of product, in real life, in your personal life, you have certain goals, right? So what is the goal? Any thoughts on this?
Well, goals are I think, mainly the objectives that we want to achieve in short term and the long term. So short terms are the.
You're absolutely correct. In the term you use, short term and long term, we'll also discuss it further a little later. So yes, goal is defined by having 2 things. First of all, it is something that you strive for. So if you have set a goal, then you have to work towards achieving it. And it's not that goal is something that comes to you. When you set a goal for yourself, you will not be delivered a goal. You'll have to work towards achieving that goal. So first of all, it is something that you work towards achieving. And then it is something, it is measurable when you have attained it. So goal is quantifiable. Once you have achieved your goal, you can assess how much of it you have achieved, whether you have achieved 100% or less. So it is quantifiable and you have to strive for it. So this is a definition of goal. Now, product goal, if you combine these two terms, and what is a product goal? In a nutshell, product goal is the target future state of your product, and that you envision that how your product would look like or should look like in the future. And then you work towards achieving that goal. So you base your decisions on your product goal. You decide what you need to do so that you are able to achieve your product goal. Okay. Now, product goal is in your product backlog, because everything that the team needs to work on is in the product backlog. So product goal also goes into the product backlog, and then the teams they decide how they will shape their product backlog to achieve the product goal. So they order the product backlog, they prioritize the items in it, they add or remove items from the backlog, just so they get more closer and closer towards achieving the product goal. So when the teams are working on a product goal, when they're focused on a product goal, they become also focused on the product, because they know that they have this goal to achieve, and to achieve that goal, they have to work on improving their product. So this creates a shared purpose for the Scrum team. They know what they have to achieve, and they know what they need to do to achieve that goal. Now, there are certain characteristics of product goal. First of all, it defines your product backlog. Your product backlog is shaped by your product goal, because everything that goes in or out of the product backlog is dependent on your product goal. Anything that does not align with the product goal will not be in the product backlog. Then there can be only one product goal in the product backlog at a time. So no matter how many Scrum teams are working on that product, there can be only one product goal that they're trying to achieve. So if you notice, we have mentioned here one product goal in the product backlog at a time, which means the product goal is for a particular period of time. We are going to discuss this in detail later, but just remember this, that there's one product goal at any given point in time. Okay, another characteristic is the product goal can be complete without all your product backlog items being completed. So you add items in the product backlog so that they will help you achieve your product goal. And once your product goal is achieved, then even if you have items remaining in the product backlog, it's achieved and it's done. Okay. As we deliver each increment, we move one step closer towards our product backlog. So because when we plan a sprint, we set up a certain sprint goal for that. And that sprint goal has to be aligned with our main product goal. So every sprint, at the end of each sprint, we deliver an increment, and that increment takes us one step closer towards our product goal. Okay, so with each increment, we are moving closer and closer towards the product goal, because the sprint goal is always aligned with the product goal. So for that long-term product goal, sprint goal is our short-term goal. And when we'll review the increment, we will review it in the context of both the sprint goal and the product goal. At the end of the sprint, we'll see how much that increment helped us achieve our sprint goal. And we'll also see how closer we have gotten to achieving our product goal. Okay, now the real question is, who sets the product goal? I mean, we know the product goal is there in the backlog, but who put it there and who is responsible for setting up the product goal? Anyone, any thoughts on this? Who shall be responsible for setting up the product goal?
Product owner.
Rabia, I see you have raised hand. You can speak up.
Yes, I have also the same answer, product owner.
Product owner, exactly. So yes, product owner is the one responsible for setting up the product goal, because product owner is responsible for the product backlog as well. So they are the owner of product backlog, so they set the product goal as well. And product owner work closely with the Scrum team and the stakeholders to make sure that everyone understands what the goal is about, what the goal is, and everyone agrees to it, and they're all on the same page. because we are talking about transparency here. So everyone should be clear about what the goal is and how we're trying to achieve. A really important thing that product owner has to keep in mind when he or she is setting the goal is your goal should very clearly define what you are trying to achieve and what value the goal is adding to your product, and that should be clear to the people to whom you're communicating the product goal, because this is one thing to add a goal to your product, but it is completely different thing to add a goal that is valuable, that is meaningful, purposeful, and it is providing some value. Okay, so anyone can add a product goal, but to add a really meaningful and valuable product goal is the real target. And which is why it is said that a good team has a product goal, a great team has a powerfully inspirational product goal. So product owner, when setting up the product goal, they have to keep this in mind that they are adding value to their product and not just setting up any goal that they have to achieve. Okay, another interesting question. Can product goal change? Can we change the product goal? Yes or no?
I think yes.
yes.
Maybe customer driven, maybe the change in the market or whatever the requirements.
Yes, suddenly the requirements got changed. Client mindset is changed, something like that.
Exactly.
Or if we pivot ourselves, like, I mean, pivot in the sense that if we change our direction suddenly because of some market forces.
Exactly. So yes, product goal product goal can change. And the one reason, the main reason for this change in the product goal is VUCA world. Anyone heard of this term before? I'm pretty sure we have all heard of, because we are working on the products. So we know what VUCA world is. Have you heard of this term before, VUCA world?
No.
Okay, VUCA world is the world that we are living in right now, and it says that this world is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Because in today's world, things are changing very rapidly. Everything is evolving very quickly, and you don't know what's coming tomorrow, how technology will change, how market trends will change, and it is very complex. It is driven by a lot of factors. There isn't just one factor that drives this world, and most of the times you don't know what's coming next. So this is VUCA world, and this is the world that we are living in. And in a world like this, product goal is bound to change. So it's not like product goal can change. It's more like product goal should change based on the changes in this VUCA world.
So,
So
Saira, I would like to ask a question with the audience. In case if we compare it with sprint goal, so once the sprint goal is obsolete or changed, the sprint is cancelled. So anyone would like to answer that if product goal changes, what effect will be on the product backlog?
We will need to prioritize the backlog, set the backlog.
Okay. Yes, that's also true.
I think
And
the same situation just happened with us, and currently we have two different products. So, but due to customer requirements, there is a change that we have to uh, make at a unified product that actually gives us two uh, different products. So we have to change the entire product backlog, their integrations, and whatever the ways of working is.
Exactly. So this is just actually a question, because this is very important related to the product backlog. If that is changes, there will be different effects on the product backlog. So we also need to make sure that how to respond on such changes. So Saira, you can shed more light on these areas.
Yeah, I'm going to. Thank you. So there are two situations in which your product goal will change. The first is you set a goal, you achieve that goal, and now you create a new goal and you work towards achieving that goal. Because you cannot be static. You cannot just set one goal and be done with it. This goes in your real life as well. In real life, you set goals for yourself, and once you have achieved one goal, you move on towards another goal. And it's not like when you achieve your goal, you say, okay, I have fulfilled the purpose of my life and I'm done for now. It cannot be like this. Like, for example, if in your professional life, you set a goal that, okay, I have to do this certain certification because I need to learn new things. I need to learn about this new framework or this new programming language. So this is your first goal. You work towards it, you work towards achieving it. And once you have achieved that goal, then you set up another goal. Okay, now that I have this certification, I have learned something new. I need to put this into practice. And I need to find out ways how I can put my new skills into practice. And if my current situation, my current job doesn't allow me to put my skills to use, then I might have to look for another job, for another setup where I shall be able to practice these skills. So you set another goal. So first goal was to learn a skill. The second goal was to put that skill to use. And once the second goal is achieved, you move on to another goal. Okay, now I have to teach others, and I have to be on the side where I am giving the knowledge to others, because I have gained, I have learned more a lot through certification as well as through my own experience. So now I'm going to benefit others from it. So goals keep on improving, goals keep on growing, and you grow with them as well. Same goes with the product. Once you start with the product, you set a product goal, and once that goal is achieved, your product cannot just go static. You have to set another goal to make improvements in your product, to make it more um, um, in demand, and to meet the changing requirements of the users. So you add another goal that will add more value to your product, and that will enhance and improve your product. So this is one condition, one situation in which your goal will change. The other situation is if the context has changed. You already have a product goal, you haven't achieved it yet, but the market trend has changed, the user requirement has changed, the client's requirements have changed. So what are you going to do in this situation? You cannot just stick to your product goal. You can't say, no, I don't care what the market trend is. I don't care what customer needs right now. I have this goal and I have to stick to it. This is not how it works. You have to change yourself, change your product according to the changing requirements. So you'll have to abandon or cancel your existing product goal and move to a new one. So you'll replace your current goal with the new one. And to answer the question that was just asked by Mohsen as well, if the change happens at a time when the sprint is in progress and you have a certain sprint goal, now you have set up a new product goal, and the existing sprint goal doesn't align with the new product goal anymore. So in that case, the product owner will cancel the sprint because it is not going to add value to the product. And they will create a new sprint in which the new sprint goal will have to align with the new product goal. And if we talk about the product backlog, like I already mentioned a couple of slides ago, the product backlog is shaped by the product goal. So if the product goal has changed, then everything in the backlog will change. Everything will move up and down, in and out based on the new product goal, and you'll have to align it with the product goal, because a product backlog contains everything that the team needs to work on. And if it is not in alignment with the product goal, then you cannot just work on it. So if the current sprint doesn't align with your product goal, with your new product goal, then you'll have to cancel it. And if the product backlog doesn't align with your new product goal, then you'll have to update your product backlog as well. Mohsen, does that answer the question?
I would like to comment here.
Sure.
I think if we relate the product goal with the sprint goal, the product goal should be something very huge, and it may not change so rapidly, because due to product change in product goal, we need to cancel and discard a lot of things which we already had done. So in this case, a lot of loss can be occurred due to the change in product goal. So I think the change of product goal should be encountered with respect to risk-based study first, and we cannot casually change the product goal. Like if the market trend is changing, we need to measure it earlier so that we can predict what changes are there.
Okay. Yeah, the market trends are changing, and it's not always that we can predict the changing trends earlier. Okay. And it's not just a market trends that we have to take into account. There are other things as well. Like if you're working for a client and the client requirements have changed, then you'll have to make the change, and you cannot just wait for your sprint to complete. And if the product goal has changed, then the work that you have done in the past, it may or may not be in alignment with the new goal, but that work is done. Okay, that is already done. That's in the past. But for the future sprints, you'll have to update your product backlog and align with the new product goal.
Ajay, I have a confusion here. Does product goal is something like epic, or product goal can be an epic?
Okay, you're talking in terms of like what we have in Jira, like when we create user stories and then we have epics.
Not Jira, actually, I am relating here the safe here. Like we have epics in safe, Scaled Agile framework. So can be a product goal also be an epic or representation of an epic?
Product goal is not an epic. It is, it is even a broader term than epic, because based on your product goal, you decide on your epics. Okay, and
okay,
like I already said, I'll discuss in detail. Like I already mentioned actually in the previous slide, that there can be only one product goal in the product backlog at a time, and you can have more than one epics, right? You can be working on more than one epics at a time, but the product goal, this is just one product goal. And for that goal, you are creating your epics and creating all your product backlog. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Sure. Okay, now the question is, how frequently can you change your product goal? It was just mentioned that we cannot change product goal very frequently. Well, that depends how frequent you can change the product goal. Okay. Because products are constantly evolving, and we already mentioned that we are working in this VUCA world, so things will change, and the change is bound to happen. There's one thing that is, one constant in this world, and that constant is change. Other than that, nothing is constant. Everything is rapidly changing and evolving. So in this world, you have to keep on updating your product goal. You have to revise your product goal. You have to revise your product backlog. But the question is how frequent you have to revise. Now that depends upon multiple factors. Like if the market and the product are fairly stable, then you have to do it every quarter. Okay, and depends upon which market your product is targeting. And if that market is not rapidly changing, then you can do it every quarter. But if you are working in a market that is very rapidly changing, then this change will be more frequent. So product goal, first of all, it is bound to change. It cannot stay, you cannot just have one product goal and be done with it. And secondly, the frequency of change depends upon the situation around you, the market for your product. And based on that you'll have to decide how frequently you need to change your product goal. Any questions at this time? So like we mentioned a couple slides ago, that there can be only one product goal in the product backlog at a time. So why we mentioned at a time, because at any given point in time, there will be a product goal, but that product goal will not be a constant in the product backlog. It will change. It will be replaced with a new one when the goal has already been met, or it will be replaced with a new one if this goal is no longer required, if it no longer meets the demands of the market and the customers. Okay, the last topic of today's discussion, and a very interesting discussion actually, the goal or a vision. If we say we have a product goal, does that mean we don't have a product vision? Or if goal and vision, they are one and the same thing, and we are just using the terms interchangeably? If we set a product goal, do we have a vision or not? And you have heard of these terms before as well. I know, in not just in terms of Scrum, not just in terms of product, but in in your real life as well. You have heard about goals. You have heard about visions. You know, some organizations have their vision statements. You know, you set certain goals. So, what is your opinion on that? What is the difference between goal or vision, or is there any difference between goal or vision or not? Rabia, you can speak up.
I think with multiple goals, we can achieve a vision.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Sorry.
You can say
Okay.
to have a goal, you must need to have a vision first. Having a vision, then creating multiple goals or a goal.
Thank you, Mohsen.
Uh,
Okay, so
I,
first
I, I think we can always have like milestones for our goal, but a vision is like you can say the ending, the last when you cross the tunnel and you are at the very end and you have reached your destination somewhere, and probably that's your ultimate vision. But for the goal, you can have like milestones set, and as you were earlier saying, that goals could be like measurable sort of thing.
exactly. Thank you so much, and everyone is absolutely correct. So first, let's see in terms of in the context of Scrum. So in the previous version of Scrum Guide, in the version 2017, there was one mention of goal and vision, which was used in the context of increment, and that was the increment is a step toward a vision or goal. In this latest version, what they have done is they have replaced the word vision with product goal. So in the new Scrum Guide, there's no mention of vision, there's just a product goal. Okay. So this was in the context of Scrum, but if we speak generally in generic terms, then what Mohsen said, what Rabia said, and what, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name, the last one. If you can please tell your name.
Sufyan Javed.
Sufyan, thank you so much. So Mohsin, Sufyan, and Rabia, their statements were absolutely correct. Vision is something that is long term. Vision is something that is not in the near future. It is not something that you can see right now, but this is something that is your ultimate destination that you visualize, that you want to achieve, but you don't know how. You don't know how to reach there yet. So this is where this is where the goals come into play, and goals are short term. They are easy to achieve because we said they are attainable and they are measurable when we have attained them. So we set up certain goals, and our goals are aligned in a way that they will lead us to our vision. These goals help us. These goals become our milestones for our vision. So we like move from one goal to another. We move from we can call them milestones. We move from one milestone to another, and with each goal, with each milestone that we have achieved, we are getting closer and closer towards our vision. So when we talk in terms of the product, then product goal is our first step towards a much bigger vision, because it's not possible to have a product and not have a vision. Even before you start working on the product, you already have a vision. If you come up with the idea of a new product, you already have a vision what this product is going to do, how it's going to, which service it's going to provide, which system is going to benefit, what would be the benefit of using this product. You already have this vision in mind. But to achieve that vision, you have to set up certain goals, because you cannot just reach your vision in one go. You have to move from one step to another, and those steps are your milestones or your goals. So you move from one goal to another and ultimately achieve your vision. the Scrum Guide removed the mention of vision, and they only mentioned product goal, because product goal is something that the team works on in the short term, and working on the product goals will eventually lead you to your vision. So the vision is, again, absolutely correct. It's long term, and goals are short term, which are set up in the direction of your vision. And achieving those goals one to another, you will move towards your vision. And goals are actually the milestone that you set on your product roadmap. It's a completely different, it's a completely separate discussion. But when you set up your product roadmap, you set up certain milestones on that. Those milestones are your goals, actually. And once you have achieved those milestones, you are actually getting closer and closer towards your vision. That's it for today. Any questions?
Okay, I think everyone understood perfectly. Okay.
Thank you. Any suggestions of your own, if you have any idea, I mean, your own thoughts on what the product goal is, or anything that we discussed? I mean, there were certain questions about when to change a product goal, whether to change it or not. If you have your own idea on it, or your own thoughts on this, we can share it here. We have a few minutes that we can spend on discussion here.
I think Farhan asked a question on the chat. What if goal changes very frequently?
Goal can change very frequently, like we already discussed it. Your goal has to be aligned with the changing trends, with the changes in the world around you, with the changes in the customer requirements, user requirements. So goal can change very frequently, and it can be, I mean, it is not something out of question. Like we already discussed that if the market for which your product is targeted, if that market is not frequently changing, then your goal will not frequently change either. But if the market is frequently changing, then goal might change very frequently.
Saira, you can check the question on the chat. I think Farhan is not speaking at the moment, but he mentioned a few comments over there.
Yeah, I am seeing it. Due to any reasons, time, see, once you set up a goal and you're working on that goal, and you're delivering something at the end of each sprint, you're delivering an increment. That increment is also adding a value to the product, and for that particular time, that increment, that the value that has been added to the product is what was required at that time. So your efforts are not going into waste. I mean, we are working, I mean, I'm working on a product right now, and we have made a lot of changes in the product, and we have even removed some of the features that were there before, but now they're no longer required, so we remove them. But it's not, I won't consider it a waste of time and effort, because at the time we were working on those changes or on those features, they were the requirement of the time. They were required by the customer, and they were needed. So we fulfilled their requirements, we fulfilled their needs. And for as long as their needs were fulfilled by those changes, it was all good. But then the requirements changed, their demands changed. So we had to make changes to accommodate the changing demands. And now we are working on the new goals, and the new, those new goals, for those new goals, we are working on the increments. So the previous goal that we were working on, and the increments that we delivered to achieve that goal, they didn't go into waste, because they fulfilled the requirements and the needs of that time. Thank you.
I want to share an example with you guys.
Yes, please.
So I'm working on a product, and we were continuously getting the changes in their requirements, actually, because of the need of the business, actually. So we worked on it, we developed that feature, then we got change in that feature, and the process continues. So after that, we reach up on a point that we propose a out of the box solution to the client, because we cannot give that solution if we don't get frequent requirements. So in this case, the frequent requirements or changes is adding the value, as you are just saying.
Thank you, Sohaib.
Also, there are multiple examples. If we see from the market experience, most of the time, the teams who are working on some particular product, uh, the major people, including on the management and the development team, especially the development team, they don't know the vision or the goals. Mostly they have the short targets that we call sprint goals. But the problem is adding this product goal is very much important, so that all the people who are working on such products, they can align themselves with the understanding of the company vision and the product goal. So if you see around the market, we can see a lot of examples where the customer and the company, if they get any differences, if they get any problems with the communication or the contracts. So mostly that's related to the actual description that's given on the agreement. And the product goal is not very much visible, or you can say not very much clear at that time. So since this is a very frequent, I think that's the reason they explicitly mentioned product goal in the Scrum guide. So this can make more visible to everyone. That's my 2 cents. Saira, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Mohsin.
I have a one quick question. I don't know if it's very relevant to what we are right now discussing, but I was thinking in terms of like, if there is a sprint of say 10 working days, and in that sprint, is there any standard, or I would ask, yeah, is there any standard of how many days, is there any standard for the percentage of what QA guys should get the percentage? Like, is there a ratio for, is there a 70-30 ratio or 60-40 ratio, or is there any standard for for the split of what exactly from where exactly the QA should start, and where should developer end the development, uh, and then sort of like only focuses on bug fixing of that sprint items?
So you're seeing time slicing between QA and development within a sprint.
Yeah. So is there any standard for that time slicing?
Okay, what I have observed is mostly the QAs, while the development team is working on the development, and they're working on the coding, the QA team is working on the test cases, and once the development is completed, they are given the product. They are given the code for testing, and but before the sprint starts, before this development starts, we have this sprint planning session. In this sprint planning, we pick up the items from the product backlog that are added to the sprint backlog, and we estimate how much time will be required for each of these items, and then the sub items as well. So the time for QA is the estimated time for that will be required for the QA is given at that time. So developer already knows how much time is required for the QA, so they have to hand over the code to the QA before that time, so that they have ample amount of time to do the QA before the sprint ends. And then again, there could be bugs, and then they'll have to fix the bugs as well. So this has to be decided at the time of sprint planning. So in planning the sprint, they give their estimates. Okay, we can only pick these many items, because this much time will go in coding, this much time will go in QA, and for bug fixing as well, we need some time. So they give their ETA keeping that buffer in mind. So not a fixed ratio, but depends upon what your how complex the items that you're picking up are how much time will be required in the QA and how much time will be required, because if there are items that are based on some integrations, then QA will have to test the integrations as well. Okay, not just that one particular code piece, but the integrations as well. So QA might require more time than usual. So they will have everyone in the Scrum team, everyone in the development team, they will have to give their estimate before the sprint starts, and that will tell how much time should be given to the QA. So it cannot be hard and fast for every sprint and for every product. It depends upon your situation. It depends upon the items that you're working on. Just my understanding, Mohsin, Zishan, anyone can please add to it.
Yes, I would like to add. First of all, I think that's question from Sufyan, right?
Right,
So,
Sufyan.
so Sufyan,
Yeah.
first of all, in Scrum, there are no titles. There is no QA, there is no developer in Scrum. There is only one thing that's in the previous version, that was the development team. Now, even they have changed that name from development teams to developer, because it was giving some,
Developers, right.
you can say, some reference of a sub team. So there should not be any sub teams in Scrum. So if you are talking about the ratio, there's a project management like different standards where you have QA ratio and a development ratio on a particular piece of work. But in Scrum, all the relevant people who have the skill set to create a product, they work together, they self-organize, and they are cross-functional. They figure out how to do the job. That's the reason this facility is given, this power is given to the development team, that they pick their own work. No one says this person is QA, I'm a developer, or how to do the work and when you need to pass on the work to anyone else. This is something the team itself creates a mutual understanding that how they need to run the show. So that's why this is actually there are no, you can say, sub teams or titles in Scrum. If you're talking about Scrum, so that's the answer. In project management practice, there are different ratios and there are different ways to do that.
Uh, Thank you, Mr. Mohsin. Let me add a couple of more things with one example. So when we are talking about QA team and development team, then we are actually creating the two teams and two silos, and it is pretty much like, okay, we have done our work, and now we are putting it over the wall to the other team, and now it is their fault. Just imagine, I know most of you guys are following the cricket. Just imagine we are saying that bowlers have done their work, but it's the batsman's fault. Or batsmen have done their work and it's the bowler's fault. So can we say that bowlers win the match, but batsmen lose, or the vice versa? So it's either the whole team win the match or whole team lose the match. So when we are creating these type of sub teams, virtual teams, then it gives that type of mechanism silos. We have done our work and now it is your thing. So actually we are creating a mini waterfall here. We are just sprinkles the agile and scrum terms to do the waterfall, and it is a phase gate. So we have done whatever the percentage we decided for the development. Now it is handed over to the QA, and QA is going to take care of this thing. This is actually not working as a one team. This is actually not working as a one sprint together. This is actually a mini waterfall.
This question is actually a pain point, and a lot of people would like to talk about that. So thank you, Zishan, for your input as well. And Sufyan, I hope this answered your question.
Yeah, actually it did, but unfortunately, we are all working in a professional environment, and we all are aware that although we are talking about some sort of like team in double quotes, but the reality that uh, I won't say things are in silos, or we are putting over the wall sort of thing, but still there is a segregation. I mean, in the sense that
Yes, there are. There is, exactly.
yeah. I mean, we cannot deny that if a person is doing testing, obviously he's not doing the development part, and he's focusing on his area. In that sense, at least there is segregation, and obviously that QA guy is waiting for someone to commit his work and then he can proceed. So that is part of our design. I mean, that's how software works. One person do his part, and then obviously testing could be possible. If something is not yet developed, how I would say that I'm testing it. So that's always there. But it's fancy terms to say that we are a team and we are one group and we are cross functional, and but the facts, the reality. And so I would, although I wouldn't disagree with what you are saying, but I'm just pointing out the reality. And I am saying that since this is, I mean, we are talking about our Pakistani market, and at least how things are here in Pakistan. I have worked in almost like six to seven software houses in Karachi, and I've seen almost the same practice everywhere. Maybe if you can share some experience of maybe there is a new trend. I'm not aware of this, but maybe there is something which is slightly industry slightly changing towards something new. So um, but now since we are saying that I'm not saying that we are not a team, and we are blaming someone that he has not done his work. And uh, so but still, since there is a logical segregation, so obviously, yeah, Saira already answers that question very well, that it depends on your product and your item that you are picking up in your for your sprint. So
Yes, Sufyan, just to add,
yeah,
uh,
sure.
that's true. The actual Scrum implementation is very rare, and even in Pakistan, since we are trainers and we are interacting with a lot of companies, still the actual adaptation of Scrum is very, you can say, very rare overall. This is the reason we are trying to educate through community, through trainings, with all these kind of things. The implementation is the second part. The education is the first part. And you will be surprised that a lot of people, they don't even know the actual Scrum. So for implementing the right approach, first, we need to forget the old approach. Second, we have to learn, we have to educate ourselves. And then we can go for the correct implementation. And this takes time. That's true. And there are a lot of cultural barriers. As far as Scrum is concerned, Scrum does not tell you that within sprint how the development team should work. They only tell you they should be self-organized and cross-functional. So within Scrum, within sprint, you team needs to figure out how they would like to generate the increment. But definitely the rules and guidelines are given in the Scrum guide. So this is actually a very detailed topic, but definitely we would like to go in detail in some other session.
Uh,
Right.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Mohsin. Thank you, Sufyan. So I actually have, this is just a side work. So actually, when Sarah was discussing about the product goal, I actually have one idea came to my mind. In case if you are interested and on time, then I want to share that thing with you guys.
Sure.
So
Sure.
um, I was actually reading and one of the very famous video on the TED Talk from the Simon Sinek, Start with a Why, and there is a book on the same topic. And if you haven't got a chance to see the video, I highly recommend to take a look at this thing. And that's actually explain the golden circle of what the Simon Sinek said. They start with the why, and that why was not. I will not say missing, but not explicit in the previous guide of the previous version of the Scrum guide. It was there, but not very much explicit. And now, if you notice, they make it very much explicit, not only in the sprint planning. Now you can say that sprint planning has three topics. Now we start with the why, but we can also connect the dots with that same why in the product goal. So product goal actually give us the answer of the why we are working on this particular product. So I'm looking from this dimension also, this start with the why and Simon Sinek that introduced in sprint planning as well as in a product goal, and that helps the team to understand why we are working on this particular product. And you can correlate this feeling when you just join a company as a new person in that company, whether you are a new in industry or not, and they just assign some mentor to you, somebody to you, and you are getting some small tasks to get familiar with that particular product. And at that particular time, you don't know what particular things this task is doing and where it fits in the big picture. And they just ask you to do something, and you are trying your best to accomplish that thing. And gradually, when you understand the big picture, then you are in a better position to understand whatever you are doing, where it fits in the big picture. And just imagine the frustration. All of us definitely have this experience when you don't understand whatever you are doing, where it fits in the big picture. You are just doing whatever asked you to do, and you are not as much creative, not as much innovative, because you don't know why we are doing this thing. And now this product goal actually help us to understand why we are making this product at the first place. So if we understand the why, then we'll be able to understand the rest of the things. And the same theme is applicable, in fact, in the sprint planning, when we are creating the why, when we are trying to get the answer of why first, and then we will go for what and how. So that is 2 cents from my side.
Thank you, Zishan.
Thank you, Saira, Zishan, everyone, for joining today. Zishan was referring a video from Simon Sinek. I already shared the link on the chat. That's about the golden circle he introduced. So this is also a very interesting topic, by the way. So thanks, Zishan, for referring for that particular direction. This is also interesting. Saira, thank you very much. That was really interesting. And I think
Thank you,
we don't
Mohsin.
need to read the Scrum guide again and again for the product goal. At least product goal is clear to me. I hope so. That's clear for everyone as well. Thanks everyone for joining today. And the recording, someone was asking for the recording, and the recording will be shared on the YouTube channel. Also, the link will be shared on the Meetup as well. So again, thanks very much for joining. Have a good weekend. And this weekend is over, by the way. So have a good next week. Thank you,
Thanks,
Sarah.
thanks,
Thank you,
Mohsin. Thank
everyone.
you, everyone. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.